I would say first, if you're going to get into land, go driving for dollars.
Okay.
And you can maybe explain that a little bit more better than I could. But actually getting out there when you're doing land and looking at it in person is huge for most people.
Gotcha.
You start recognizing utilities, you start recognizing, shape of the area, shape of the ground level. You can see a creek if maybe it's in a flood zone. So you can kind of start visualizing that and seeing what it looks like. And then plus look for pieces of land that are in a neighborhood where the grass is overgrown. There's no house there. The neighbor doesn't have a fence going around it as well, and just look for like things that look out of place.
You are now listening to the Your First Steps podcast. It's great to talk about $1 million dreams, but where do we start? How do we get there? Listen up as you hear directly from real estate industry leaders on how they reach success in their fields. And most importantly, what were their first steps? Let's get this party started. Here's your host, Eli the Real Estate Guy.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thank y'all so much for tuning into another episode of the Your First Steps podcast. I'm super excited to have this guest today. I have been following him on social media for a little bit now, probably a couple months, about a month or so, and I've just seen him explode. He's giving a lot of great information on social media, and so I was super excited to have him on. So when it comes to, he's a land investor, he's a business owner, and just overall amazing content creator. So today we have Evan Price. Evan, how you doing today, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
One of my first big podcasts.
There you go. Awesome, man. Well, we're not big yet, but one day we're gonna be big.
Hey, right? You're big to me.
There you go. I'll take it. So just to let you guys know about how I found Evan. So I was actually on Facebook one day, and as I'm just scrolling through, I see a guy, with a similar hat that he has on now, and he's talking about land wholesaling. And so he goes in, he's describing all these things that I don't think about, right? Like when it comes to, looking at gas lines and seeing the value of certain properties compared to this and that, and things that you just don't think about. That's when I was like, okay, you know what? Let me follow him and let me just see what he's doing. And then as video after video after video just came out, and how valuable this information was, because I'm not really seeing this type of information in other places on social media. So I decided to go ahead and reach out to him. But before we get into the businesses and everything else, I'll have him introduce himself. So Evan, let us know about yourself and introduce yourself to the people that may not know who you are.
Yeah, man, definitely. Thanks. I grew up on a farm up in North Dakota in my early childhood. So parents still farm I think they farm about 7,000 acres today and run about 1,500 head of cattle. So I've always had the land background in me. After I got, I'll go ahead and say that Dad always said that, if you don't love farming, don't do it your whole life because you'll learn to hate it. So I never stayed long enough to learn to hate it. So
gotcha. Okay.
Turned 18, went to college, figured out pretty quickly that wasn't for me. Went into utility development, doing gas lines, oil lines, eventually got into fiber optic. I did that for about 10 years. And then in 2021, I decided that I wanted my own business. I was building everybody else's companies. And I didn't even know what I was going to do. I was just like, I really want my own business. So I actually quit without knowing what I was going to do. Had a pretty good nest egg, saved, no kids, no wife, never, so I left and had a couple of different ideas. I was going to start maybe running dumpsters around town, or I just wanted something, right?
Right.
And my buddy down here in San Antonio, he's like, "Hey man, you need to come down and see what I'm doing. I'm doing big land deals." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know anything about real estate, but he goes, "No, man, you'll be perfect at it." He goes, "You have a land background from farming. You did utilities. You'll be great at this." So I was like, whatever. I was like, didn't have anything better to do, not having a job or anything, right? So
gotcha.
Down here to San Antonio, and I started learning from him, and I was like, man, I could do this. This is right. I
Nice.
got a background in this, right? So I jumped in, start learning flipping lots. I did a couple houses, flipped a couple houses here and there, but my main focus was on land. And then I ran across a big old land deal in the millions, and I was like, I got this. I know what to do here. So
Gotcha. I love it, man. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. So now it's starting to all make sense as to why you have so much of this wealth of information, because you had previous experience when it came to utility development, knowing where gas lines run, knowing where that makes a lot more sense, and that makes you super dangerous when it comes to this land business. So that's really awesome. So you mentioned that you were raised on a farm in North Dakota. So explain what that was like growing up in that Price household. What was that like growing up day to day? Just kind of explain the day in the life of young Price.
Man, most people don't understand what farming actually means. Everybody's like, I would love to do farming. You know, you got all these dreams of let's go farm. And for me, it was like almost a little bit of a hell on earth.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
Okay.
I see all I grew up in a power plant town in North Dakota. So we had a class about 65 kids, and I was the only kid that was like a real true farmer. So I'd see all my kids, all my friends running around doing sports and, driving their motorcycles, and invited me to come over. And I'm out here sitting in a field going back and forth.
Right.
So, I mean, I do like enjoy, running equipment, that kind of thing. But back then, like I didn't realize that. I was like, man, I just want to go hang out with my friends. So,
yeah.
Hey, first world problems, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Great family, great upbringing. Just always wanted grass. The grass was always greener on the other side of the fence.
Exactly. Right. So it's interesting. So like you're saying, people would, being in the city, people would take field trips out to the farm, and they're just like, it's just so different on the other side. So you probably looked at city life like, man, they'll just be so awesome if I could just do these things. But yeah, so I totally get it. And there's always the whole grass and green on the other side, but you learned a lot of skills while you're on the farm. So what are some things that you would say that you learned on the farm that you're able to apply to your life now?
Man, just taking care of land, like the biggest thing I could, imply now that I learned there was hard work, very blue collar mindset. Like my parents, even to this day, and older brother, they do everything themselves. And that's probably something that's hurting me, because I want to do everything myself versus going out and hiring employees and doing all that. But yeah, that hard work, I mean, especially when we got to like into working for a business, they're just like, man, this guy just keeps going. Like he just never stops. Like everybody else is 40 hours a week. They're like, man, I'm tired. And Evan's over here like, hey man, what can we do next?
Gotcha. It's like, now I got my 40-hour warm up. Now I'm ready to go. Gotcha.
Yeah, just hard work, man. That's the biggest thing. Dad always told us when we grew up, he said, man, you guys can be the president, the vice president, the CEO of any organization you want to be, because nobody's going to be able to outwork you.
Okay.
And he was right about that. He really trained us for that.
Gotcha. I love it. And so now going into land, so you explained what that your friend introduced you to land investing. Was he also developing land, or was he just basically flipping land?
So what he was doing ranchette subdivides, which means anything in Texas that's over 10 acres, you can consider agricultural land and get agricultural exemptions on those land. So you don't really have to even go plot anything with the counties or any of that. You just let them know that this is agricultural land and I'm selling it as is. Right. So he was taking 100+ acres, subdividing it 10 times. And then with that smaller parcel, you were able to sell it for a larger price per acre. So he was going out and buying, he'd buy like 100 acres for 10 grand, turn around, subdivide it, tell the county where the new lot lines are, and then sell it for 18,000-20,000 an acre.
Wow. Now, okay. So this brings up a very interesting question. So when it comes to finding the land,
Mhm.
where do you find land that's in these rural areas to buy?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So a lot of people do like mailers. We actually did texting. I pulled the list, and this is like pretty early on in my like marketing side of things before what I'm doing now. But
Uh-huh.
we were testing out texting through a CRM, and actually, same buddy owns a CRM, so we just use his CRM.
Right.
So uh, I pulled a list of phone numbers in San Antonio,
Uh-huh.
non-targeted. They had no like stacking of anything going on. It was literally just phone numbers. And actually, we had a name and address, but the name and address didn't even match up to most of the people. So
Really?
all we were doing,
Gotcha.
texting phone numbers. We are like, hey, we're buying property. Do you have anything for sale? And a lot of people would be like, no, I have an apartment. I don't have property. But every once in a while, you get that person never be contacted through text, because not everybody's contacted today through text, right?
Right. Right.
Everybody's getting blown up either by text or call.
Uh-huh.
But you get that one guy that hasn't been on any list, and they have some property to think about selling, and it becomes this conversation that like they're thinking who they are, where their land is, and we don't know anything about them.
Uh-huh.
But that's where a lot of our big deals came from, was texting non-targeted list. I mean, we were texting like 100,000 people a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like definitely quantity. You have to go really high quantity to get those people, but that's
Right.
where
So
initially
when you're saying non-targeted lists, so you're
Yep.
just pulling the numbers of San Antonio
Yep.
and just hitting them up without no
Yep.
names or anything. Just wow. Okay.
Yeah, we
Gotcha.
didn't know anything about these people other than they had a 210 number.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. So okay, that's all right. So now the question is, how much did that cost? 100,000 texts a month.
Yeah.
How much did that cost?
It costs about 4 cents a contact. So
Okay.
yeah,
4 cents a
somewhere.
contact, not 4 cents per message.
Oh yeah. Well, it was about 4 cents a message, but
Okay.
the amount of
Gotcha.
people that would reply, you get charged per message, right? So I
So
think
going in and out.
yeah,
Got it.
coming in
Okay.
now, but most people wouldn't reply, so maybe 5 cents a contact.
Okay.
Still a lot of money. Like
Yeah.
text them, $5,000.
Mhm.
100,000. I think we probably spent about 5-10 grand on it.
Gotcha.
Someplace in there.
Now, were you sending texts with? So you're saying through the CRM. Was it something that was like a text blast, or was it like a? Okay, so it was a text blast. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
And and for the people that's listening, when I say text blast, it's you upload a list and it just sends messages to everybody at the same time, versus
Yep.
a batch leads, which is what I typically use. It's you click every single time to send it out. So 100,000 clicks would send out 100,000 messages versus
Yeah.
this one click and everybody
Yeah.
gets it.
Well, we had it on an automated system, so it would go through and like do that clicking motion itself. But it was on like a
Okay.
robot, right? Like a robot, like a internal software would be doing it, right? So
Gotcha.
every minute it was sending out somewhere between 35 and 50 texts a minute.
Got it.
And
Okay.
multiply that by how many,
Yeah.
50 a minute. It goes pretty quick, so.
Gotcha. All right. And so with this program, is this something that was just something that was created by a friend, or is this a known software that people can go out and use?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this software is HiveMind CRM. It's actually my buddy that does the big land deals. He actually created it in 2000. I want to say 2020. He came out with it, or 2020 he came out with it.
Gotcha.
So he's
HiveMind, HIVE.
Yep.
Gotcha.
HIVEMIND.
Mind. Okay.
Yeah. HiveMind CRM.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Good deal. And you were saying good.
Yeah, we just automated it. I mean, I'm kind of a techie guy. I mean, you wouldn't imagine it by looking at the cowboy hat, but like right. I'm in crypto and I'm in, information technology. Like, so you had to automate it to do what you wanted it to do. And I got pretty, deep in the automation. So I had like 80 hours of automation built out for the software to run properly.
Gotcha. All right. So where did you learn how to automate and do all this coding basically? Where'd you learn this?
Man, I taught myself.
Okay.
when I was at a utility company, one of the things I wanted to do was start tracking like analytics of all my crews, and we just had this data that we didn't know what to do with. So I got on and started learning Excel, like going on YouTube and learning how to do like VLOOKUPs, without having any experience. I never learned in college or high school.
Right.
I've always been kind of good with computers and able to learn from YouTube. I mean, I love YouTube. Like you were talking about books earlier, man. YouTube is my thing.
Gotcha.
Like
So explain that. Go deeper into that, because that's something that. So for example, my old basketball coach. Whenever I had any car issues or anything I needed to get fixed, I was like, you know what? I know that you know how to fix it, so I'm just going to bring it to you, and then you can just kind of show me how to do it on the back end. And so he was explaining how it's not that I just know how to fix everything. I just go on YouTube and I look at the video before you come here, and I'm like, okay, by the time you get here, now I know how to fix the thing. So what prompted you to be like, you know what? I don't know how to do this thing. Let me look it up on YouTube.
Man, I've been watching YouTube since like early days. Like I don't even know, like as far as I can remember back, I've been watching YouTube and like just very interested in like how-to videos and watch people restore things. And the more I watch, like the more I realize that you can find whatever you want nowadays on it, right?
Absolutely.
So I actually had a bus I converted back when I was working in the utility company. I bought this Metro bus and then converted it into like a full RV. And
what?
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool. I don't have it anymore. I sold it, but
okay.
It was like a 40-foot long Metro bus, like you'd see driving around the city, right?
That's
and
so cool.
I bought it and I was like, you know what, I'll just work on this a little bit. Ended up reconverting the whole thing. Took me like 4 years to do, but I learned. I had no carpentry experience before this, had no like wiring experience. But I'd go on YouTube, like, how do you wire like a regular plug-in? How do you wire a 4-way switch? How do you wire, a light? And I just go on and like there's people out there teaching it to everybody,
Gotcha.
And sometimes you find the guy that's like, oh yeah, just take that wire, that wire, that wire, and then you cut them all. And then there's another guy that's like, okay, this is what this wire does, this is what this wire does. And there's like very information. You got to cut them 6 inches. So it's like you got to find the right video, obviously.
Gotcha.
But there's it's kind of like describe it as like teachers. Like you had some teacher growing up that was really good at their job,
right?
And YouTube's the exact same way. Like you're gonna find every level of teacher, like the one that doesn't really give, and then the one that is really good at what they do. And that's, I don't know. So I mean, I did it before that, but that's like the best example of learning on YouTube. So just anything after that, I was like, I'll just look it up on YouTube. I redid a whole bus by watching YouTube. I can do anything on YouTube.
There you go. So that's also interesting. So something that I forgot where I got this from, but the idea of building on top of past successes, right? And so you have the confidence to go and first being aware that you don't know something, and then you look up how to do this thing. And now that you've accomplished this root thing, everything that comes about later, it's well, I did this in the past, so now I have the confidence. This dog comes on every episode. Goodness.
They call that the white rabbit, huh?
There you go. This is Lasso.
Lasso, I love the name.
Yeah, thank you. Lasso, please. Hey, you can stay. All right. So, so that is that. So you went on to, so you wanted to have a business and you learned these different trades and these different skills over the years just by, actually, no, I'm going to stick on this bus. Where'd you find the bus?
So give you a little backstory on the bus and how it came to be. So in 2013, I had an intimate, or I kind of had a wait time from utility work. I had a buddy in Texas, and this is how I actually got to Texas from North Dakota. He's like, hey man, I got a band. We need a tour manager. We know you're really good at managing things. Would you come be our manager? So I moved to Texas to tour the country with a rock band. Did it for about 2 years. And I always see, some of these bands we tour with have these big old buses. Like we were stuck in this little cargo van, right? It was a small band up and coming. So I was like, man, one day I'm gonna have a bus. Like I just like even after touring and going back in utilities, I'm like, I'm gonna get myself a bus.
Nice,
So
nice. Okay.
the thing I could afford was like a conversion bus, not like a big old Prevost like everybody else had touring the country, but $1 million Prevost. But I could afford this $10,000 bus that I found on Facebook. And I was like, I'm gonna make this into something great.
So they just had a bus on Facebook. It's like, hey, who wants a bus?
Yep.
And
I was like, this guy, I do.
There you go. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you found the bus. And was it working when you found it? Like, could it drive?
Yeah, actually, it had the motor redone on it a few, like 10,000 miles ago. It was actually kind of partially converted, not very well. Found that out the hard way, but it was like partially converted, and I was like, you know what, I could go in here and tweak a couple things. Turned out, tweak the whole thing.
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, the motor and the drivetrain, everything was good. It was just the inside that needed to be redone.
Gotcha. All right, and so you got this bus, you converted. Do you have any pictures of this bus?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I could send you some over after this.
Please do, because that's I love it. And speaking of like RVs and stuff, that was one of the things that I remember. Geez, I was in my early 20s. I'm 33 now. This was like early 20s while I was in school. And I remember hitting up a group of friends. I'm like, man, it'd be cool on spring break. Let's just get an RV and let's ride up and down the coast. And everybody was on board until it was time to actually put money towards this RV. And they're like, oh, you're serious? I'm like, no, I don't want to get on the bus and go up. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to go to RV by myself. So that never happened. But it's still a goal actually to do.
I could probably screen share here to show you.
Oh yeah, please.
All right, so here she is.
Wow,
in all her beauty.
Hey, did you do the painting and everything on the outside?
No, that was one of the things that was partially done. So they had this. Okay. So originally this bus was University of Michigan campus transit bus.
Interesting.
So it was like blue and yellow at one point. The guy that bought it from the campus was, I think he was Native American somehow. And he was the first person to touch it and like do the outside. The story I got, he worked at an RV company, so he kind of had an idea of what he needed to do. And then it got to Texas somehow from the buyer that I bought it from. And he had it for a couple of years and he was selling it. And that's where I found it on Facebook. It was in Dallas, Texas.
Gotcha. So, wow. Okay. So everything really is on Facebook. If you want it, you can find it. My goodness. That is beautiful, man.
So actually, funny story. This picture on the side here, Sitting Bull and Buffalo Bill.
Okay.
So I'd roll through in the utility company. I'd travel the country, travel Texas and Oklahoma. Every 6 months, we'd roll to a new location and I'd have to drive the bus someplace. But I always stop in these small towns along the way and they'd be like, oh man, that's cool. Is that a RV conversion bus? And I'd be like, yep. Like, who's those people on the side? I said, well, those are my great grandfathers. They knew each other.
And they bought it.
They'd be like, really? And I'd be like, yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice. Now I got to see on the inside of this thing, man.
All right. There's the inside.
Oh my gosh. All right. So for everybody that's not watching the video, it looks like a renovated house. Like there's hardwood floors, there's wood paneling on the wall. You got the microwave. You got a deck all the way out, man. That is beautiful. Yep. And did you have folks? I'm assuming you had folks helping you with putting things up, or did you just do this all by yourself?
I had one guy that kind of came in the end, and he was actually one of my workers at the utility company, but he had a little bit of carpentry background.
Gotcha.
So he came in the end and helped me kind of put up some of the stuff in the bathroom area.
Oh my gosh, that bathroom is beautiful.
It looks like
man.
I always wanted to make it look like a cabin, right? So
that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bathroom had a gun safe in it.
Oh my gosh. You never know. You got to protect yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
did that art on the wall, did that come with it, or do you guys? Okay, it did come with it. Okay.
no, I had that custom made. Some guy
Mm,
actually out of Austin, I think, made it for me.
gotcha.
But I had went to Colorado and was in the mountains, and I needed a piece actually back here. I think one of these videos. So this back wall here,
Mhm.
um, it has to stay open while you're driving. It like has all the fuses and stuff in it.
Okay.
So when I was driving, I'd have to take the big art piece down, but I needed
Ah,
something to
gotcha.
hang over it when I wasn't driving, so it looked nice.
Gotcha.
So I
Gotcha.
think I think I paid like $800 to have that piece made, but it's all wood, all natural, and
Man,
they just repaint it. So it's
that's
heavy.
awesome.
It's a heavy
I
thing.
bet. So it's all wood, and again, for the people that's not watching it, so it looks like mountains, and it's made out of pieces of wood. So did it like symbolize anything, or was it just like he just made it?
I've always loved the mountains. So I mean, like I don't know why I live in Texas. Like I should probably live in Colorado,
Right.
or like at least Montana or something. But
Mhm.
spent a lot of time in the mountains over the years, and so it kind of symbolized like tranquility for me. You know, I always feel at
Gotcha.
peace when I get into the mountains. So
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That is absolutely beautiful, though. Thank you for sharing that. And so, going into the other business that you have, which is the dryer vent cleaning business. All right.
Mhm.
So, what made you start that? And so, yeah, let's just start from that beginning. What made you do that? Let's like start that business.
Oh man, I was looking for a boring business to get into. So a boring
Mm,
business being something that's pretty easy to start, could cash flow pretty heavily. And I've been looking for about, I think we started that like, shoot, August of last year. So it's been like what, 4 or 5 months now since we
mhm,
started that. But I was on YouTube again. And I was just kind of scrolling through videos and I came across this dryer vent cleaning. And like it wasn't on my mind, like I wasn't looking for businesses on YouTube to create. I was just kind of scrolling
mhm,
and they had all this lint coming out of this dryer vent. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is
mhm.
crazy. And I was like, you know what? This is like really easy marketing. Yeah, like for this guy, like every video he had millions of views. And
Uh,
he was actually a North Dakota guy. So it kind of came from that same state. Like there's like 700,000 of us, right? So
right.
like if you know somebody from North Dakota, like you're actually doing pretty well, right?
Gotcha.
And
Right. Right.
if if he could do it as a North Dakota guy operating in this relatively small town, I was like, man, I can make this into a business. So that's kind of the first like indication. I was like, I started looking around, like nobody's doing it. Like very low competition. Getting into real estate, you kind of realize that like everybody's doing it,
Yeah.
right? You have
Yeah.
so much competition. But this one thing, this dryer vent business, there's like very few people around the country doing it.
Mhm.
Like most homes burn down, or the most house fires start because the dryer is backed up. And just the virality of the marketing, I was like, this is gonna be so easy,
Right.
right? So
Right.
so we started.
Absolutely.
And reason I was looking for a boring business is because with land, it can take so long. Like wholesaling is pretty quick, right? But
Yeah.
on these bigger land deals I've been working on one right now for a year. And
Uh-huh.
we haven't even started subdividing, right? And it's
Gotcha.
gonna be
Right.
another
Right.
2-3 years probably before we're all done.
Really.
And yeah, so I was like, I just need something that cash flows a little more consistently.
Right. So I'm
So
definitely going to touch on that, the time frames of the subdividing. So we can do that. All right. So when it comes to the driver business, so you saw that, and what was your first step after you saw that video? What was the next thing that you did?
just start researching it.
Mhm.
Get on YouTube how to clean a dryer vent. What kind of equipment you need, and how
Uh-huh.
much is that going to cost? How much can you charge? The real breakthrough came when I started actually listening to Alex Hormozy.
Uh,
He's a service. I don't know if you know him, YouTube big billionaire guy, or not billionaire, but he's going to be probably in the next year or so.
right. Exactly.
Like
Mhm.
literally, he's like worth like 200 million right now.
Nice.
Um, and he's like, don't do what everybody else is doing. He's like, everybody else looks at an industry and a business they want to start. They try to figure out what they're doing and their price range, and then they provide just a little bit better service for a lower price. And he goes, that is how you go broke in business.
Mhm.
He goes, figure out what everybody else is doing is important, then add way more value on it and charge an extremely high price.
Mm,
So
interesting.
everybody else in the driver event business is charging anywhere between $80 and $150, $160.
Mhm.
And they're all relatively about the same. So I was like, well, how can we improve this? Well, we could add in other types of vents. We can clean the outside of the vent. Everybody's going inside. We're going to go outside. We're going to clean the roof off while we're there, just as all the leaves and stuff, I'll upload all off. And then we're going to charge $275.
Wow.
And
Okay.
when I told my business partner this first time, he's like, you're crazy. Nobody's going to pay it. And I was like, I think they will. I think everybody's still charging prices like 10 years ago. Like nobody's raising prices, right?
Okay, right.
I said, with all this high inflation, I think it's pretty, and I really don't want to serve the customers that are looking for the $80 service.
Gotcha.
You get out there, you find a problem, it takes you too long, and you're losing money on that job. I said, I'd rather get out there and have the amount of billing I'm doing is say I have 2.5 hours of billing.
Uh-huh.
On a regular project, I'm going to be spend 30 minutes there and everything else is profit. But say I do get on a job that's a little bit more needy, now I have 2.5 hours I can spend there trying to figure out how to help that person, and then I can innovate as well.
Gotcha. So what are some other services that you're doing there? Like as you're cleaning, going into the drive van. So I've seen some videos, and I think it's interesting how you say that. I see the drill, they attach like some type of snake or whatever, put it in there, and you just see just tons of just crap just coming out. So aside from that, well, I guess, is that your method, or do you have like a different method of cleaning it?
Yes, we have a totally different method.
Okay.
We use high pressure air on a backflowing system. So we stick in like a air hose into the vent, and then top of the air hose, it's like a specialized air hose, but there's a specialized tool that spins rapidly, and then it blows air backwards. So
Interesting.
we'll go outside or either inside, doesn't matter, but the air hose naturally wants to go forward, and it's blowing everything back out to us. Where if you use those brushes on like a little cordless drill, like you can buy them at Home Depot like for $30, right?
Right.
The brushes don't want to go around corners, and that's where most of the lint's going to be trapped, is in the corner anyways.
Gotcha.
You're pushing and compacting all the dryer lint into one spot, and usually into the corner, versus pulling it out. So there's just so many problems with it. Like it's great if you have like a 2-foot dryer vent, but most of the dryer vents we work on are like 30 feet or more.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Because I know most of the houses that we flip, the dryer vents are like on the opposite wall of where that exterior point is. And like you said, it's like 2 feet. But I guess your main target is going to higher end areas to where it's a lot more distance with that. That is okay. So now, because you're going to a higher end area and overall having that longer distance, your tools don't have to be as long because it's using air pressure, right?
Yep. Well, I mean, we still have like a 30-foot long tool that goes all the way through the vent.
Got it.
But it's not attached to a drill. It's not what's the word? Mechanically operated. It's all pneumatically operated. The hose naturally wants to go down the driver. Man, we could talk about this all day.
Man, I'm just saying, this is fascinating to me. I'm like, hold on, I know we're talking about lead, but
I was just thinking, like, in my head of all the stuff I could explain to you about dryer vents, and I'm like, you might not want to hear all this.
I mean, okay, we could touch on it a little bit, and then after that, we can go back to the subdividing. So I guess if you want to put a button on the
no, it's fine. I just don't want to bore your audience with dryer vent cleaning business. Because we could sit here all night, bud.
Yeah, I was definitely about to nerd out on some dryer vents. I'm like, man, this is so fascinating. All right, so I understand the concept, the overall concept of the dryer vents. Now you're saying with the subdividing of the land, how that could take years. So explain why does that take so long?
Just because the bigger the land you do, especially if you're gonna go into like actual development, it takes so much time for you to get feasibility studies and environmental studies and then compiling all that info. I mean, like this one land deal we have 300 pages of studies on what's this land, how can it be developed, how can it be developed, what are the environmental impacts, and then if you want to go into actual development, then you got to get approval on all these things, right? So the actual, like, we're not on this piece, we actually, it's more of like a learning process for me on this big of a piece of land, on like how to do the real estate development side. We were thinking about developing it initially. So that took a significant amount of time. And then now we're finally to the point where we're like, okay, well, we're not going to develop it, but we still want to subdivide it. Well, how the heck do you find that money? Right. So we had to go in and negotiate a seller finance deal, ended up working on that. That's just about done here. And then these tracts that we're subdividing, based on the county standards, they're going to be really big tracts. So just on the cost alone, it's going to take a lot of time because we're trying to find a very small niche, high-end group. So we're going to have 10 tracks that are going to be almost $1 million a track.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I think I say 4 years because from now, or 3 years from now, just because, it is San Antonio. It's the 7th largest city, but you're targeting a very niche crowd in a very specific area.
Gotcha.
Right?
And so where do you find, so is it just a matter of just listing it on the MLS
Yep.
or do you have other methods of finding buyers as well?
Yeah, on this type of land, with it being so high, we're just listing on the MLS.
Okay.
But if it was like, I mean, not all land deals take this long, right? But averagely, it's going to take at least 6 months to get a deal from you start time to finding all your buyers and getting everything signed. Like 6 months to a year is pretty average.
Gotcha.
And
that's just raw land or developed land or any type of land?
I would say big acreage.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you can wholesale like a small lot that's all ready to go. It has all the utilities in place. It has the roads coming through. Like that, like when I say land, I'm thinking anything bigger than 10 acres. If I say a lot, I'm saying anything smaller than 10 acres, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So a lot you can wholesale within 30 days because it's just like a house, only there's nothing to refurbish or there's nothing to remodel, right?
Gotcha.
But with big land is you don't have anything. You don't have utilities, you don't have roads, you don't have any of this stuff. So it's almost like you're doing a rehab on the land, getting it ready, and that takes time the bigger acreage you go.
Gotcha. All right. And so when you're looking for land that are these big 10-acre plus situations, what are you looking for when you're determining what's a good deal?
I guess that's a loaded question.
So I guess it's a 2-part question. What are you looking for? And is it important to also get it at like a 30% discount or, things like that?
Yeah. So raw land, I'll talk about price a little bit first.
Okay.
On the price, most of the people are thinking like raw land. They don't have any separation between what raw land is and what developed land is. Okay. So even the sellers will sometimes get this mixed up where they're like, hey, I have 100 acres. I saw the guy down the road just sold his 1 acre for 100,000. Therefore, I want 100,000 per acre.
Right.
You're like, whoa. Hold on 1 second.
Right.
Like you have raw land, he has developed land. Like, plus your acreage is so much larger that as the amount of acreage goes up, you have to you get less per acre because you're selling it. It's a buying pool issue, right? So and really like 1 acre to 5 acres, you have a pretty low drop off rate. Anything less than acres, like usually pretty high. So like back up, anything less than an acre, just about anybody can afford because it's going to be somewhere between, $25,000 and $100,000. Like you can go out to a bank and get a loan for anything less than a 1 acre, right?
Mhm.
If you get between 1 and 5 acres, you have to have the drop off. Your max value is usually going to be about 250, right? If somebody wants to build a nice big house on it, like $1 million house, they're only want to pay like 250,000 to get that
Gotcha.
loan. You get over that 5 acre to 10 acre threshold, and now you're like down in like the $10,000 to $15,000 range. And then over 10 acres, you really start dropping off, where you're really looking for a whole different use. Like say you buy 100 acres, one guy buys 100 acres. He's going to build a house on one of the acres, and the other 99 acres are going to be used for something completely different that doesn't have the value of a house being built, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So, like, you can get all the way down to like $700 an acre if you go big enough.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Where there could literally be a lot right next door that sells for 50,000, but the acreage that's 1,000 acres, beside it is selling for $700 because of the cost, difference
Gotcha.
there.
Gotcha. Interesting. So
So
when you're saying that 1 to 5, and you're saying that's like 250, are you saying that's 250 for 5 acres or per acre?
yeah, for like the whole acreage, like on the high side, you could do like 250,000 for all 5 acres.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
Like
Cool.
on the low side, you're probably at like 100,000 or less,
Gotcha.
depending on where it's at and location wise. But what we really look for is we make sure that the numbers make sense in the beginning. Like if somebody calls me and they're like, "Hey man, I got 30 acres, 2 hours outside of San Antonio, I want 10 million." I'm like, no. Like, I need to look at it. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
Gotcha.
Like, that's on a lake. I'm like, I don't care where it's at. It's just not gonna happen.
Gotcha. Okay.
So kind of just understanding where those numbers need to be is kind of like my first indication if it's going to be a good deal or not. And then location based after that. You're like, if the numbers kind of make sense, like we can start looking into location. How far, really what I look at is what's the population density of the place you're selling in, right?
Gotcha.
So
okay.
If you go to Bell County, Texas, the population per square mile is going to be like 500 to maybe 750 people. And that land is going to be selling somewhere around $4,000 an acre. Like if you start talking large acreage, right?
Right.
You go to Bear County, which is in San Antonio, and the people per square mile is like, 40,000 people per square mile. That land is going to be selling for 15,000 an acre or more. Gotcha. Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I really look at population. It's really location, right? And then after we kind of figure that out, we start looking at amenities, and that's where most people don't look. They'll look at location, they'll look at the price range, but they forget about looking at amenities of the land. Like most people are like, man, it's land, and you're like, yeah, but everything has all land has attributes. And they're like, what attributes? And I'm like, well, does it have utilities? What kind of utility does it have? Does it have flood zone? I've like literally.
So talk more about that. Like name those utilities. Cause I know I was watching a video of yours and you were talking about gas line versus, is it close to a road? This like a church was closer to that, like kind of explain that mindset, what you're looking for.
Yeah. So the most important utilities, if somebody wants to build a house, especially in the countryside, is going to be electrical, fiber optic, water, sewer, and then gas. And most people, when I tell them that, they're like, there's no way that fiber optic is more important than water and sewer. And I'm like, well, in the countryside, most water and sewers are not publicly like on a public system. They're a well and their septic system. But there's only one way to get true light speed internet, and that's through fiber optic, right?
Gotcha.
So it's electrical, fiber, water, sewer, and then gas and like cable TV if you can get it and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's kind of what we look for. First thing we want to know, does it have electrical? And electrical is like the most readily accessible utility on the planet. like,
Gotcha.
or maybe not on the planet, but the United States. Let's just
Right.
say it that way, right?
Right.
If you don't have power, you got big problems, right? And most times, like, power is pretty easy to bring in. You set a couple utility poles, and now you got power, right? Water, on the other hand, and can be very costly to bring in, like publicly provided water. So if it has that, it's a plus. Septic systems are very common in rural areas, especially if you have a good perk in the ground where you can the septic system can work and it can saturate in the ground. But if you have sewer, it's even more, valuable. So we start looking at all these, kind of in that list of order, and fiber being up there as well. Now it depends on the customer. If you're looking at to do ranches, they really don't care about fiber. They'll set up their SpaceX Starlink, be perfectly good. But if you're looking for like heavy residential, you have to have fiber.
Gotcha. So
we
let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so when it comes to fiber optics, I've heard of it being public record, future plans to develop fiber optics in a city. So is that something that, is that true? Or like, how do you actually find that information?
Yeah, we could go down another rabbit hole with that. That's what I did for like 5 years, is develop fiber optics.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Let's, I guess, try to sum it up. How can somebody find that information?
The best way, honestly, if you're like really, really interested and pretty far along into the project, you just call 811 ticket in, a local utility marking. That's free to a customer as long as you're planning on doing some sort of digging on your property. You call 811, you tell them where your property's at, tell them that you want to know what kind of utility lines are around it, and every utility company will come out and mark their stuff because they don't want you to damage it, right? So they'll come out and mark the fiber, they'll mark the water, mark whatever utilities are available. If there's gas and oil lines out there, they'll come and mark that. So like if you actually are really interested in a property, like I want to call 811 tickets on a deal you're looking at just off the cuff, but that's one way you can tell. You can also call your local providers and, call it your independent, especially in the rural areas, call your independent local fiber optic. And usually the best way I know who to call when I'm driving out to a property is start looking for billboards and, and look around and, oh, there's a billboard for, Lightspeed internet. They're the independent local provider, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Call them and ask them if they serve fiber optic to your area.
Gotcha. Now, if you're just wanting to know, for example, in Houston, because that's where I'm at, if you know that they're doing fiber optic to a particular area, or I know there were some years back, I remember they were doing some fiber optic project in New Jersey somewhere. And they're like, oh, well, because we know that this plan is coming, the real estate market is going to go crazy there because they're going to have access to this type of internet. So, and they're like, oh, well, the city, we got that from public information. So is it like a report that you get from the city that says, hey, here's our future plans for the city? Or is it a way to check like a database of like where in the country is there new fiber optics about to happen?
Man, they're happening all over the country. I don't know like a central authority for that.
Okay.
That's also kind of like a loaded question because AT&T or like a big company will be like, hey, we're going to build out fiber optic to, Spring Branch, Texas. And that means that in the next 10 years, they're going to have fiber there. But, like you might be way too early to the party if you're buying today, because it might be, the first area, wherever they're planning on putting their, what we call a CO in the industry is like a central hub. You might get fiber from that in the first year, but if you're in the wrong area, it could be 5-6 years out before you ever get it. So I wouldn't really, it's kind of like another, like the bigger the company gets, the longer it's going to take type of thing.
Got it.
I would be looking for places that currently have fiber. And you can also tell, like if we go into like we could do it right now if you want to, but we could go to.
Let's do it.
Okay. I just looked on Google Maps, so let me pull open a map real quick.
Okay. See, and if you guys are not following Evan, this is the type of stuff that he does on his Facebook and on his social media. Is he goes into detail on all these things, and you guys can tell he has a really deep knowledge on not just land, but why land is valuable and what things to look for. So this is not something that you'll get in a regular course. You just have to, follow people who actually know what they're doing. So
yeah. Choose an area, man.
So let's go to, as a matter of fact, okay, let's stay in Texas. Let's go to, go to Houston and then go to Spring. So north of Houston. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go a little bit further north just so we get out of the city, because I know this area is going to have fiber. Let's come down this like County Road 224 and actually let's try this area right here. Oh wow, that's not what I was thinking. Let's see. I'll try and find someplace a little more rural.
All right.
Okay, so here's a rural area way out in the sticks. Like literally. So like say we had a property down here someplace, like we're gonna buy this 5 acres. The first thing I do when I start looking for utilities is start looking at the corners. So right off the cuff, I know there's some sort of pipeline. This loads here. There's some sort of pipeline going through because it's all cleared here, and then you have these markers right here. And if you zoom in on it, you have these vent holes, which is a clear indication of a pipeline going through. And you also have yellow markers back here, and this is usually indicating some sort of important structure underneath of it. So like a valve box or something's down there for that gas pipeline. There might be also, well, that's a white post. I was going to say that might be water. So, and here's more even back here. You can see these valves sticking up out of the ground. So we know this area has a big gas line. It looks like they might have multiple gas lines going through this area.
Gotcha.
Typically these posts are going to be directly over the gas line in question. So as you look down the way here, there's another post back there, and you can faintly see another one in the back. So there's one pipeline there. There's another pipeline over here. There's another pipeline over here. So this area has pipelines going through it. So if this was the property we were looking at, we wouldn't want to buy this property because you can't build a house over active pipelines. So we know there's pipelines in the area. So when we start looking at that 5 acres, we want to make sure there's not something going through a rear easement. Like for example, that one is probably heading in this direction. So if our property was over there and you kind of see that clearing, there might be a pipeline running across our property. So even if we go out, oh shoot, I messed up.
It's all good.
I was trying to find that satellite here. I think we were right here, weren't we? Yeah. So I think that's right where we were. So you can see, say this property was right here where we initially talked about, and it's 5 acres. You're gonna have a pipeline going right across it, and then you're probably within a proximity to like some sort of dangerous collection site. So even if you bought this property, you probably couldn't build a house just because of this collection site over here.
And when you say collection site, what do you mean by that?
I would imagine this is some sort of like gas collection site or a compressor station where they're gonna compress that gas and push it out.
Gotcha.
But since it's kind of a dangerous area, the county will never let you build a house there because that would, for some reason, have a leak or blow up. I mean, it's gonna wipe out everything in a quarter mile.
Jeez.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Gotcha.
And we just pulled a random spot, right?
Right.
But also what I seen down here on the corner, just to give you an idea, this place probably has fiber optics because of this marker right here. This is what we call in the industry either a matchstick or a cigarette,
Mhm.
and they're marking orange usually means always, not usually, but always means some sort of telecommunication. And when you see
Got
these
it.
matchsticks, they're usually an indication of fiber. So if we come around here to the front, we could maybe even read that sign. Let's go. I don't know if we'll be able to read it from here. But this signpost on one of the sides should tell you exactly who owns it, and what kind of fiber it is. So if you get out of your pickup or your car and you go walk over to that thing, tilt your head sideways and start reading it, it'll say something like, Greater Houston Fiber Optic Co.
Gotcha.
And then
Okay.
that is a fiber line going through there, and then you could probably pull from that.
Gotcha. Okay. So again, really great information. Everyone that's listening, whether you're on YouTube or if you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple, I want you guys to put in the comments one thing that you guys have learned so far. I know I've learned a ton so far, and we're not even close to being done yet. So make sure you guys are doing that. And also, if you guys have not yet done so, make sure you guys go and look at the caption of this podcast, and make sure you guys are following Evan, because he's given amazing information, and this is the type of stuff that really makes a difference. You may be, for example, I know I was looking into getting into land wholesaling, and I was getting information from folks that were giving general information, and there was pieces of land that I would look at, and it was just weird how certain properties would have completely different values than others. And as I'm listening to folks that are teaching, land wholesaling online, they're like, okay, well, look at the neighborhood, look at this piece of land. If there's some land that's sold next to it, down the street or whatever, that's similar acreage, get a price per square feet for the lot, and then that's how you determine a rough estimate for that land. And you just go based off of that, discount it, see if they want to sell it at that price, and then you just kind of move on. It works for houses. And of course, there's the whole, what section of the neighborhood is it in? Is it, within the same years, square footage, style, whatever. But this is the type of information that if you don't know, you might be buying land that's legit on top of some piping that's going on, and nobody could do anything with it. Now you're on the hook, you're under contract, and you've already passed your due diligence stage because you're like, no, I got a deal. It's like, no, you don't. You're stuck with a situation, and now you're giving yourself a bad name. So, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was just making sure that people did not skip that. And I got to make sure that they actually follow you so that they can just keep getting this type of information. All right. So, so you're showing the information. You're showing the importance of noticing these things. So, when you're looking for, okay, let me ask this. How do you run comps for finding land if there's so many other factors that go into it? So it can't just be there's no date attached. There's no, like whatever. How do you run comps for land?
Yeah, so that's kind of what you said right now is the first thing I do. Like I will go into an area, try to find out what the lots are selling for. And if I can't find like any lots, I'll take home values. What's the median home value within a half mile? And not the highest, not the lowest, but like the median. Like say there's one that sells for 250 and then one sells for 400. And they're kind of all like in between that. So I'll go about 350 and I'll take 20% of that. And that's the max value I can sell that lot for in my mind.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So when people build houses, or when houses are being built, the bank is only going to finance 20% of that loan to go towards the lot. So like when they start breaking it down, so that's what I consider max, sellable, and that's where home builders want to pick it up at the max. So depending on how aggressive the home buyer is, if homes are selling off the shelf and, selling quickly, they're okay with paying that 20%. But if it's kind of a slow market, kind of like we're seeing now, they're wanting to push closer to like 15, 10%, because they can roll some costs onto that, and get that house sold still. But if they're maxed out in their land at 20%, they're never going to be able to do it. And
Gotcha.
it becomes a burden to them.
So is that limited to different areas as far as using that type of formula, or would you still consider that in like higher end areas? Or
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
It's just a rule that I use.
Gotcha. Okay.
Obviously the higher end you go, people are going to have cash that they can put down, so they don't have to worry about so much of the loan. I mean, if they're building $1 million house and they want to live in a certain area, they're going to have the cash to put down to buy that lot, right?
Gotcha.
So that doesn't matter as much, but I still look at everything as everybody's going to have to get a loan if they're buying a lot, right?
Gotcha.
So I'll figure that out first. Is my first area of comping is what is this lot worth on a loan for a new build, right?
Gotcha.
And then that's after I figure that out, then I'll check and make sure that there's no gas lines, make sure it has utilities, make sure it's not in a flood zone, make sure it doesnnent have some more sort of electrical easement going through, and all these different
explain that
factors.
Electrical easement.
Yeah, so I was just trying to look for this property while you were talking, but there was this one lot up by Dallas, right outside town. All the houses in this little subdivision were selling for like 750,000 or more, like 750 to $1 million, and there's, I don't know, 16, 20 houses, and the whole subdivision was sold out except for this one lot. And one of the questions I always ask, especially when I start looking at lots, is why is this thing vacant? Because there's no reason this one should be vacant, and all the other ones are filled. So there's something wrong with it, right? So either it's on a slope, either they have some sort of utility easement, something's wrong with it. Maybe it has a drainage ditch going through it, something you can't see from satellite. So this one in particular one, I started looking at it, I'm like, man, we're getting a great deal on this lot. Like, we're buying it extremely under market. Like, from aerial images, all I can tell is like this lot's ready to be built on. Well, I did some more like due diligence in it, and I was starting to pull like county records, and a county record had a utility easement going through this lot. And I'm like, oh, there it is. That's what it is, And so I pulled it back up on maps, and then I started noticing there's transformer lines going through, like the big gray ones that go across the plains.
Gotcha.
But
right.
From an aerial perspective, I'm looking at this one lot, and a quarter mile in either direction, there's two poles, and you can't see the wires crossing this lot.
Okay,
right?
Gotcha.
From an aerial perspective.
Right.
And you can't build a home on that lot. I mean, you technically could build a home there, but if for anything happens with those power lines, I don't know if you've ever seen power lines get toppled before, it's going to land on that house, and then it's going to create a fire
and fry it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So no insurance company is going to back that, right, underneath of a power line.
Right.
So there's all these reasons like that lots don't get built on, even if they're in a nice development area. So I first try to figure out the value, and then I look for those reasons. And I always 50% of the time you find something.
Gotcha.
So there's a reason that lot wasn't built on. And a lot of times it's either a flood zone, a waterway, utility easements of some sort of kind. The whole area is like perfectly flat, but this one lot is set at like a 45-degree angle for some reason. Like, there's just a little hill there, and maybe like a little drainage. And that lot's sitting like this,
Right.
So there's always some sort of thing that is going wrong with it. So half the time, I shouldn't say always, but half the time, sometimes it's just the guy never built on it and wants to sell.
Gotcha. So this kind of brings up a situation. So my wife, she showed me probably a couple weeks ago how there's plans to bring a Universal Studios in north of Dallas. And right now, I'm assuming, all that has been in the works for a long period of time. And just like how Disney, when they were coming out to Orlando, they, instead of just buying a bunch of land, they bought a bunch of individual lots under different LLCs. And they probably already started, running fiber optics. And I'm sure it's like way, way North Dallas, to where it's not necessarily Dallas. It's like some, country town, but now it's going to have a lot going on over there. Would you, with this news now, buy land in that area and just sit on it? Or would you wait until construction starts and you see action happening, and then you're like, all right, now let me do it? Because you don't want to be first, but you'll be like 100th.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I don't know the right answer to that, to be honest. I when you say that, I think of a story of this planned development coming through. So I don't remember where I heard this at, but it's a true story, I believe. But this guy, maybe it was Robert Kiyosaki, maybe it's in one of his books or something. But this guy had known that this new road, this new interstate was going to be built through an area, and he found the parcel maps and figured out where the corners were going to be, like the overpasses and like the connections. Those corners are very valuable. Well, he went out and bought one of these corners before the road was ever built, and he ended up financing it, was able to pay payments, thinking it's gonna be 2 years out. Well, that road kept getting pushed back. And by the time he was, the road was being built, he didn't have any money left. He was like, like the financing, something happened in his life, the financing fell through. He wasn't able to pay the note, and he had to sell that piece of land. Well, the guy that came and bought it like 3 months after, or right before the thing was built out. And he ended up flipping that land for hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
Oh gosh.
So there is a little bit of like, I'm always worried, like you gotta like wait for it to be built. But there is like that sweet spot. Like, there is like that, 1 year timeline when the building's being constructed and about to go live. Like you got to get in before, right? Like entrepreneurs make money by spotting trends and capitalizing on those trends. But being too early to the party is also a problem, because if they haven't started laying that brick on that building, I mean, Universal Studios tomorrow could say, "Oh, we're shutting that down." And they could take a $5 million loss on that, right? And not be anything to them. But you, the guy that's buying the lot next door, can't take that loss. So I would definitely wait till like it starts building. And they kind of have that plan in place. And then I wouldn't go aggressively on those types of lot. I would be like, you talk to the sellers, all the sellers are going to know, like, oh, they're building Universal Studios down the way. And you're like, and like, I'm just trying to buy this lot right now. I'm not trying to buy Universal Studios. I'm trying to buy this lot.
Gotcha.
And they're like, oh, the values are going to go up. And you're like, okay, like they might, like, but I'm giving you my cash today. And I'm taking that risk. So this is what your land's worth. Like, I wouldn't speculate too high on it. Like, if you want to target those areas, great, but don't get head over heels into that area. Still try to buy the land as if that property is never going to happen.
Gotcha. So that actually, so I remember I was watching a video. This was something that came up about Amazon. They were talking about building a factory in one of these cities. And so as soon as the news came out, land just starts selling like crazy. There's new development, new construction, people building multifamily, single families. Like, it just went crazy in this area. And then Amazon decided, like, you know what? I think we're good. And everybody was just like, wait, whoa. Like, I spent so much money. He was like, I didn't tell you to spend that money. You did it. I said I might come over there. And even if I said I was coming, I changed my mind. So, and you could take that loss. So I was going to ask, when you were in one of your videos, you were explaining how whenever you're receiving public water, and if you're in a rural area, it could cost the city tons of money depending on what they have to cross. So is it possible for an investor to pay the city to bring that water over, or does it have to be from the city?
Yeah, there's cost share. There's
Okay.
ways you can get around it. Like typically the city wants economic development, right? So they want their tax dollars to go up. If they take a lot from a vacant lot and turn it into a commercial or multifamily or heavy residential, they know that that price per acre is going to go up. They're going to serve the water district's going to serve. They're going to make money, right?
Mhm.
So if you're trying to build one house, that kind of video is kind of on like the value of that one house.
Mhm.
I'm trying to sell that one house. The city's like, listen, there's not much economic development. We're going to be at a loss, right? Now, if you still like really wanted it to happen, you could probably tell the city like, hey, we're gonna cost share on this. Like, I need water, right? And they'd be like, okay, well, it's gonna be 150,000,
Mhm.
for your $75,000 lot, and you love that lot so much, you want it to
Right.
happen. Like, they'll do it because I mean, if you're covering some of the costs for them, they'll allow it to happen because they know that economic development is going to be in the future, just not today, right?
Got it. Got it.
But like on that lot, there was one lot in that video, a half-acre lot, but the guy also owned 3 acres there, and it
Right.
went all the way to the corner. So I told the guy like, I'm happy to buy all 3 acres, because I can go to the city and say, hey, we're building 10 houses right here, or we're building 16 houses.
Mhm.
I need water, and they're gonna say, okay, well, let's put a plan together. Versus me saying, hey, I'm gonna build one house. They're like, man, get out of here, get lost.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I mean, they
Gotcha.
can't tell you that, but that's what they're thinking. you know?
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right. And so when it comes to land development or land investing,
Mhm.
who would you say would be a good candidate for somebody that wants to look into investing in land?
Oof, tough one. I would say if you have any kind of background in
Mhm.
anything land, like I always tell people, stick to your niche. You know, if you grew up in the city and that's all go flip houses. Like
Mm.
I can't flip houses. Like, I mean, I could learn it, right? I can
Right.
get on
Right.
YouTube,
You can
get on
go on
YouTube,
YouTube, right?
figure it out, right?
Right.
But like, that's not my niche. I don't know anything about houses. Like, houses scare me. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know what's behind those walls.
Right.
You know, I don't know anything about building a house. I can convert a bus, but not build a house. uh,
Gotcha. Right.
and that's probably why it scares me, because I have converted a bus. No, but
Mhm.
um, but yeah. So like my background has been in land, right? So it was easy to transition um from doing utility development, farming, into doing land. Like, I know more about it just from a base knowledge, and I can bring um knowledge to the table that other people can't bring, and that's my one up on everybody, right?
Gotcha.
But if you're in a city and you're like, man, I'm gonna start trading land, it's like, man, you better like start watching YouTube like crazy and figuring this out. And you can still do it, I'm not saying you can't, but you have to reach the level of a guy like me that's came off the farm and has utility experience, and you have to teach yourself that to get there. And most people just don't have that drive.
Right.
And even if they do have the drive, it takes lots and lots of time.
Gotcha.
So I always say stick to your niche. Like, if you're in land, if you've had some prior experience, maybe building pipelines or utility development, or you grew up on a farm, or you grew up in the countryside, and you kind of have an eye for it, great, do
Right.
land. Um,
Gotcha.
but there's so many other niches, and like the grass is always greener on the other side of the
There
fence.
you go. Exactly.
Like, do something you know about.
So when it comes to wholesaling land, how would somebody start if they're interested in actually starting that process? What should they do today?
I would say first, if you're going to get into land, go driving for dollars.
Okay.
And you can maybe explain that a little bit more better than I could. But actually getting out there when you're doing land and looking at it in person is huge for most people. You
Gotcha.
start recognizing utilities, you start recognizing, shape of the area, shape of the ground level. You can see a creek if maybe it's in a flood zone. So you can kind of start visualizing that and seeing what it looks like. And then plus look for pieces of land that are in a neighborhood where the grass is overgrown. There's no house there. The neighbor doesn't have a fence going around it as well, and just look for like things that look out of place. And if it looks out of place, it's going to be something that, that people aren't paying attention to. And land doesn't have sentimental value usually. Like where I grew up has sentimental value to me, but I'm a whole different person, like,
right. Gotcha.
But yeah, like if it's a lot, that's why I would say most people should start looking at lots. That's going to teach you a lot. If you want to get into big land, start wholesaling lots first.
Got it. Okay.
And kind of get that. But unless you have like a lot of knowledge, if you have a lot of knowledge, it's a whole different case. But for 99% of the people, I would say start driving for dollars on lots, looking for those lots, start contacting them, start skip tracing those customers or those owners.
So would you start off with texting or letters? And so I'll start off with that question. Texting or letters?
Texting, letters. I would do texting. I don't have any experience with letters, so never sent a direct mail piece of anything in my life. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I would. I mean, honestly, if you're doing the driving for dollars things, I would just call. I wouldn't even worry about getting into automations and texting and letters and stuff. Maybe if you're driving for dollars, mail might be a good option if you can't get a hold of them.
Right.
Sending it to the mailing address on file. But yeah, if you're not doing driving for dollars, I'd say text.
Gotcha. All right. And so as I was looking for land for a while and I was generating lists on PropStream, a lot of the land that I was looking at, it didn't have an address. It just said like 0 street, and it just went on to the city, state, and zip. So how do you actually address these properties? Because a lot of them will have the same beginning. So if you're referring to a property or if somebody calls you back after receiving a text, how do you refer to that exact property? So you guys are talking about the same thing.
Yeah. So if it's if you're talking to the customer, you're going to talk on the street, or in the city. And even if you can keep it really broad is a good option too. Because that person might own like 4 or 5 different lots. So, and you want to encompass everything. You want to encompass the lot they're thinking about selling, not the one that you might be looking at. Right. So if you're in Houston, you say, hey, I'm calling about your lot in Houston. Right.
Okay.
And they might say which one, and that gives you a tip that there's multiple. Right. Well, I was calling about the one on Main Street, but do you have another one that you consider selling?
I like that.
So keeping it very broad, especially when it doesn't have an address. I think even if it does have an address, keeping it broad when you're first initially talking is good to open up your opportunities. And I learned that the hard way. Actually, one of the properties I was calling on, I had asked was a lot when I first kind of started. I said, hey, would you be interested in selling the lot at 150 something Main Street? Right. And the guy was like, no. Well, little did I found out later that my buddy had the exact same seller like a month later buying this other lot that this guy owned. And the only reason I knew was because he asked me to comp it for him because I was so good at comping. And I recognized the name and I looked through the link properties and I was like, oh shit. I should, I went too specific. I should have stayed broad. He wanted to keep that lot.
Right,
he wanted to sell the other one.
Man, that is okay. That's another one of those things. You guys should take notes on that because that is a huge difference maker. And that's between potentially having a deal and just somebody just being another no, right? If you just would have said, hey, the land that you have in Houston or in Texas or whatever it is, then it would have been like, which one? I was calling about that. I was calling about this one, but do you have any other one that you're interested in selling? Oh, well, the one that's on this street, no, but I do have one that's across town that I'm considering selling, right? Yep. So that's a difference maker between somebody that has experience and somebody that's just starting off. And something I'll say too, whenever you guys are cold calling or just speaking to sellers, you want to, of course, cover certain pain points. I know for me, I go into asking, let me just ask you, what are some things that you cover whenever you're asking people about land and getting something under contract? So what are your criteria that you cover?
I mainly just try to talk to them with the kind of the person I think they might be. So, I first start asking about the property. I really don't do a lot of cold calling, so it's kind of hard for me to answer this. I have done some cold calling in the past. I'm just not very good at it. But the biggest thing for me, especially we're talking like farmers that are selling big land, we talk more about the farm and we talk more about their life than we ever start talking about the land. We talk about the farm for like half an hour before we even start talking about the land. Like I'll call them, hey, I'm interested in this land, and the conversation I try to redirect it as soon as possible to let's stop talking about the land, start talking about you. Like, oh, did you inherit this land or you've been farming your whole life? Oh, well, we've been, my wife inherited it from her father and he did X and X with the land. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like I grew up on a farm too. Like, what do you what kind of crops do you guys grow? And I just transition like completely away from the land and let's start talking about you, because the more they know that they're talking to somebody like-minded, the easier the process is going to be down the road.
I love it.
So that's kind of my strategy. That's not a really great cold calling, especially if you're like on a lot. Like, what are you going to talk about? I don't know.
Right.
And you don't want to get too. And a lot of people say don't get off topic. Like, just figure it out. Like, but I'm also looking at multi-million-dollar land. Like, if you're talking about a $20,000 lot, that's a whole different ball game. You got to do quick. You got to do volume. So. Probably not like a great question for me, to be honest. Like,
gotcha. So this is what I would say to that, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's basically what I talk about in my ebook when I'm discussing wholesaling. Is whenever you go over to someone's home, if it's on an appointment, whether it's cold calling, whatever, the way that you build rapport is by using what's available. So you go to their home, you see a picture on the wall of a kid, you start talking about the kid. You see a jersey that's on the wall, that's a signed jersey. Oh, were you a big fan of whatever? They have a TV show on, they have a movie on, like whatever's around the house. You smell food. Oh, well, what are you cooking? Oh, yeah, well, I like to cook too. And you just start like whatever you could use those things to your advantage. And the best way that somebody explained it was like, I forgot what video game he was describing, but there's certain fighting games to where, yes, you could use your hands, but there's also like crates that you could pick up and, smash the other person over the head. And so use the weapons that you have around you to help you in this conversation. So by you going in and saying, okay, well, tell me about the farm. Okay, I used to be on the farm. All of a sudden, they feel like they're talking to a relative. Now, whatever walls they had up, it comes down and say, oh, you were raised on a farm? Okay, well, let me just, whatever I was about to say, forget that. Let's talk about this farm life, and so that is huge. So yes, you guys may not have farm knowledge, but you have knowledge of something like that they're speaking about. They're going to say something. You're going to hear a sound in the background. You're going to hear an accent that you may not recognize. You're going to maybe they have a funky last name, and you talk about that. There's something that you could talk about. And as you go deeper into that, all of a sudden, what people have to know is people love talking about themselves, right? Especially if the person that is talking to them seems very interested, then all of a sudden the floodgates open. It's like, oh, you really find this interesting? All right, well, here you go. Let me tell you about this farm. Oh, yeah, let me tell you about my cucumber farm. Oh, man, well, ever since I was a kid, cucumber this, cucumber that. Talk an hour about cucumbers, and all of a sudden, the contract's easy. You know what I mean? And the contract's the last thing you talk about. Like, oh, yeah, I'm here about the land. Oh, I'm so sorry. You say, oh, yeah. We'll take care of that. So that's definitely huge.
And one thing I'll say to that too is where I do see some people get into some trouble with it is they'll pick a subject they know nothing about and act like they know something about it. Like you never want to pick a subject that you don't know anything about. Like,
right.
Like cucumbers, for example. Like it's like, okay, like my mom used to grow cucumbers in the garden. She'd make this salad. Like I can talk about that. but I
Mhm.
can't talk about like growing cucumbers because I didn't actually do it. So
Gotcha.
I try to figure out, I only try to talk about as much knowledge as I have attainable. And if they want to go in depth on it, let them go in depth. But like, I'm not going to act like I know how to grow cucumbers.
Right.
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 Like I'll
Mhm.
continue talking about like, man, like I'm so glad that you know how to grow cucumbers because I love cucumbers. I love eating cucumbers. But that's so cool that you have a passion for growing. I don't know anything about it. And I'll just tell them that. Like
There you go.
I'd love to keep talking about it because I'm interested. But what I see a lot of people do is like, oh yeah, I grow cucumbers too. And they're like, oh really? What kind of fertilizer do you use? And they're like, the white kind,
Oh my God.
white stuff. And it's like you're gonna wreck your report right off the top if you try to be
Exactly.
more knowledgeable than you are. Like just talk about what the knowledge you have,
Right.
because if they are passionate about it and you try to act passionate about it and you're not, and you don't have any knowledge, they're gonna know. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
it becomes a bad thing for you. It's not rapport building. Now they're like, this guy's a fraud. He's, they start getting that feeling like he's going to try taking something from me. He's here about the
Mhm.
land, and this wall goes right back up and it gets 3 times thicker. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so
Exactly.
whatever you talk about, make sure you have knowledge on it. You know what I
There
mean?
you go.
Like,
I love it. Absolutely. And so now going back to the wholesaling of land, what tools would you recommend as far as software? Like what are some things that'll make that the process easier or is needed?
ask that question one more time. Sorry.
Yeah. So what type of software is needed when it comes to wholesaling land
Okay.
or land and investing? What tools would you recommend?
There's an app that you can get on your phone. Probably the
Mhm.
most important app if you're going to do land.
Mhm.
It's called Land Glide, GLIDE. That app will show you parcels and the exact like placement of those parcels. Now, sometimes like they'll be shifted a little bit based on where they getting their data,
Mhm.
but you can go out to a property and with your GPS on your phone, you can stand there and be like, okay, this lot is approximately right here. Like this, the edge of the lot's right here. And then I can
Gotcha.
walk 100 feet and the other edge is right here. And just from a location base, like when you start looking at different things, to have that capability is huge. Plus it links to the county. It'll give you estimated and calculated deeded acreage, gives you all this information. That's
Gotcha.
very much needed. And I think it's only like $9 a month or something, like the
Nice.
subscription to it. So it's a very cheap way to start looking at parcel information. You can get the phone number, you get the mailing address. I mean, it's basically pulling the county's records into one app, and you can look at
Gotcha.
everything within that. So that's the first one.
Mhm.
Next thing is I'd get some sort of professional type comping tool. If you're looking at like a broader area, I would go get something like PropStream. Maybe Batch has something like it. I love PropStream just because they have estimated MLS data. They
Mhm.
used to have
Mhm.
actual MLS data. They had to pull that because of legality reasons.
Right.
But like I can search anywhere and everywhere around the United States and pull information on land. And typically, once I start really like looking into it like deeply, you get mortgage information, how much estimated mortgage they have on that piece of land. So if you're trying to offer 20,000 and they still have $45,000 in mortgage, like
Mhm.
it's just not going to happen. You
Right.
know,
Right. Exactly.
um, you can look up the lot lines on PropStream. Not affiliated. I just love the app.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of information you can pull there, and then just the free ones too. Like I use Zillow a lot, especially if I'm looking at lots. Um, and I'll go through like the history of when it last sold. Start looking down like the deeper information, like into Zillow.
Mhm.
I'll exit out, look at what's available on the market. That's a huge one people forget about. Like they'll be like, oh, there's a bunch of lots that sold last year for 80,000, and you look on Zillow and there's a bunch more for 60,000 selling. Well, why is the guy going to buy your $80,000 lot over what's
Mhm.
on market right now?
Gotcha.
Um, on bigger land, I'll use like not Land Glide, Lands of Texas or land.com. They're kind of like a Zillow type site, but they're more focused on large acreage. And you have to be careful there because they'll pull data from like 10 years back. So
Oh,
you got to be
wow.
careful on, the sold listings. Like they can go way back in time. So you can be really off. I usually have to
Goodness.
cross-reference that back to a prop stream or something to make sure I'm looking at the right date ranges and stuff.
Okay.
Um, some other ones. I think it's important to say, like, a lot of people ask me like how I find properties. A lot of the
Mhm.
properties that I find now is just through the content that I have inbound stuff coming in. So I don't do a lot of like searching anymore. It's all like analytical now.
Gotcha.
So if you like get into like what to use for texting, what to use for direct mail, like I really don't know anymore. Like I really don't do it because all my stuff's inbound now.
Gotcha. So explain that. So with your content, explain what type of content you put up and how does that attract people to you?
Yeah, no, this is a weird thing that just started happening like probably like 9 months ago, or maybe
Mhm.
even 8 months ago now. I started putting out content on the lands that I was walking. Even when I was still like getting mentored by Tony, the guy down here in San Antonio.
Mhm.
We just go out to a 100-acre property and start videoing. Hey guys, I'm out here. I have it towards myself. Have the phone towards myself. Hey guys, I'm out here looking at this property. They switched the camera around and I just kind of do a slow pan around the property.
Mhm.
Or there was something specific that was kind of cool. Like I had a video that had 6.5 million views on it, just because we were at this pond. They had a catfish in this pond at this ranch, and it was
Mhm.
full of catfish. And I posted a video about it, and it got 6.5 million views.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
like just random. Like
Gotcha.
I had no idea. Like I was posting for my friends, not for
Mhm.
for the worldwide internet. But
There you go.
yeah, so that's what I do. Or I'll be at a property that we have under contract, and I'll just be like, "Hey guys, we're out here," and I'll put a post like I'm selling it, for example, "Hey, guys, we picked this lot up for 70,000. We're looking to sell this one. It has water, has sewer, whatever it has, right? Show them pictures of the property, and I'll post it." In the beginning, I was just kind of trying to do it more so like kind of build authority
Mhm.
on myself. Like I'm actually doing this. Like
Mhm.
I'm not. It was more like like probably like a personal reason, like showing my friends that like, hey guys, when I say I'm trying to buy land, I'm actually doing it, right?
Right,
Like
right,
I'm out
right.
on these properties. But the authority turned into Evan's the land guy. And
Got it. Mhm.
people started coming to me and saying, hey, I have this piece of property, so and so, I have this lot. Can you help me sell it? And I'm like, you want my help? And
Mm.
they're like, yeah, I see all your videos on Facebook and you're all over doing all these land things. And I'm like, yeah, I could help you, but I don't know why you're contacting me.
Right, 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 right.
So I
Mhm.
started getting like a little taste of that like 9 months ago. And
Mhm.
I was like, I need to do more content. So and then I got into Wealthy Creator Ryan Pineda's content, um, how to do content like the right way.
Mhm.
And then I just even went more in depth on like giving people value. Like, here's what I'm thinking in my own head. Here's the
Mhm.
utilities I'm looking at. Here's how I find it. Here's what it looks like in my head on the screen, like that one video with
Mm.
all the utility lines running everywhere.
Right.
I just posted the other day. Like, this is what I'm seeing in my head. This is what you need to be seeing. And I just try to give value that way. And I'm not even like looking for follows or likes or comments or anything like that. Like Ryan's been teaching me, you got to do that stuff. Like it's going to
Mhm.
help you grow. And I'm like, okay, I'll start doing it because
Mhm.
Ryan's telling me to, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking to give value because I know if I give enough value, people are going to naturally want my help on the other side.
Gotcha.
Right. Um,
Absolutely.
that's like when you asked me to do this podcast, I'm like, man, I've never done a podcast before, but I'd give it a
Awesome.
shot because,
There you go. I love
you
it. I
know,
love it. So this is your first podcast.
yeah, first
Oh, I
real
love it.
podcast.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I love it. I love it, man. I love it. So So you're explaining, and it's interesting that you're saying, okay, well, this is what I'm looking at. This is what it looks like in my mind, and this is what you all should be looking for. So
Yes.
when it comes to that, like, are those the steps that you were just doing initially, or was it you kind of showed Ryan or his team like, hey, this is my content, and they just dissected it, and it was okay, you're doing good with this, add this, and this will take it to the next level. So what was that transition like from what you were doing to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff they told me was kind of like editing tips and what's easy to watch, right? Like you just talk to me. I'm a kind of a stumbler in my words. And I have incomplete thoughts. So I say a lot, say ahs a lot. They're like, edit that stuff out. Like, people don't want to hear that. Edit that out, and then make your lighting better. If you're going to transition between clips, instead of say I have a phrase that I'm going to say, and I talk about the first phrase and I forget what I was going to say, and then I have to re-record it and get the second part of that phrase in. They said zoom in on your face, create a different angle with that, and you'll see like a lot of that in my videos where like the frame will change somehow, like in and out. When I'm talking about something important, it'll come towards my face. When I'm talking about something least important, it'll go back. The text that I overlay, one of the big things their editors told me was only highlight the words in red or green that are important. Like, this lot's never going to sell. Highlight lot, never gonna sell. Like, make everything else white. So it's like a lot of like that kind of stuff that helped, and basically been in the course since for been more than 90 days now, maybe 100 days, and I've had over like 1.5 million views.
Nice. So, very nice.
So basically going from my friends to 1.5 million,
I love it.
So I'm starting to get even more traction and more inbound leads through that, just by people around the country now. Hey, you want, like today, I looked at a property in Florida, looked at 3 properties in Texas. And these are all like deals that are already locked up. And they just ask for my help on them, so I don't have to go cold call and talk to all these sellers on it. And, or they're asking, hey, can you help me lock up this deal?
Gotcha.
What kind of contract should I use? You talk about seller financing a lot. How do I seller finance this? Like, well, let's look at the property first to make sure it's worth it. And then if it is, then we can go down that track. And I try to be like cowboy hat, farm background. Like, I'm just authentic, and I'm not looking to hurt anybody.
Right.
A lot of people out there just trying to take advantage of you. I always tell people, like, bring a property to me. I'll help you comp it. And if you don't need my help, that's fine. Like, it builds my understanding of that area and what values and stuff are going in that area. Like, there's a lot of value in it for me. Just helping you comp it. Like, take it on your own, go do it yourself then. Like, if that's what you want to do. Like, I'm never hurt by when people are like, I don't need your help on this any further. I'm like, okay, great. Like,
gotcha.
Like, I was happy to be part of the conversation and helping, you to be successful.
There you go.
But you find a lot of people are just trying to grab all the value they can. Like, oh, well, if I help you comp this, I have to take X% of the deal. And I'm like, what is that? Like,
right. Exactly.
Like, don't do that. Like, I hate that.
Exactly. So the biggest thing is just, from what you're saying, is just providing value. And your compensation really is just like, hey, I got to help you. Now I know a little bit about the area. And so now if I want to go into the area, it's a matter of, okay, now I know I got somebody that's boots on the ground, and maybe we could partner in the future on something. So I love it. Definitely love that. So
if you can value add without extracting value from the other person, that's the best kind of value add you can do.
Gotcha. I love it. All right. And so now, when it comes to different people to follow on social media, what are 3 people you would recommend that we all follow on social media, whether it's for general content creation or land investing, whatever it is? What are the top 3 people you would recommend to follow?
Man, Jared Norton. I watched tons of his videos when I first start getting into doing real estate generally. I mean, he doesn't talk a lot about land. He talks a lot about houses. But the concepts were huge. I probably have watched over 100 hours of his content. So first and foremost, Jared Norton. Nick's, if I don't mention him, he's gonna be mad at me. Ryan Pineda.
There you go.
He is really good business minded, really good in real estate, kind of broad about business and real estate and everything. Has some really good programs. Taught me a lot so far. And then honestly, what I would do on the third one is find somebody local. They don't have to be the Jared Norton, Ryan Pineda, master brain, but they're going to be a really good brain for your local market. And I always say concentrate on your backyard first. And then once you get good at that, then you can start going national, right?
I love it.
Or even regional, but concentrate on your backyard, but find somebody that's doing something on content. Mainly because if they're doing content, they have to know a little bit, right? And they're really good at marketing too. And that's really important when you start wholesaling properties, is you have to be good at both those things, knowledge and marketing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, and that just goes, wholesaling San Antonio, wholesaling Houston, wholesaling, wherever. Find you on YouTube,
There you
probably
go.
somebody watching this video right now that's never heard of you that just searched it. Start following you. Find somebody that's local that can help you and is willing to help you.
Gotcha. And so, but like I said at the beginning, I found you on Facebook, but I know you post on Facebook and Instagram. Do you post on YouTube as well?
I need to. I have done a little bit. YouTube is like a weird algorithm that really goes based off of clicks and subscribers. Where Instagram is going to show you the content whether you like it or not.
Right.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
I haven't broke through the YouTube yet. I've a couple videos that go pretty, couple thousand views on it. But it's really an eye catcher on YouTube. Like, you got to be either well known or have a really good thumbnail. And I just haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, a little bit on TikTok. Again, I just like Facebook and Instagram. They've been big too.
What would you say is the difference in Facebook? So you're mainly Facebook and Instagram are your two main. So what have you found to be the difference between the two as far as reach, and are you repurposing content to where you're making it, the same content on both? Like what would you say is a difference between the two for you?
I put the same videos on all the platforms. So I make one piece of content and then I'll post it. I mean, I should be posting on all platforms, but I'm posting it just mainly on Instagram and Facebook right now. Facebook, I mean, they're owned by the exact same company, but they have a very different user base. Facebook, you actually have a higher chance of going viral, being unknown, if you're talking about something very niche, because somebody will see it and throw it into a Facebook group that has 50,000 viewers.
Gotcha.
And all 50,000 of those viewers are going to see it, and then they're going to share it as well. Like my most viral videos on Facebook have been shared into groups that are very niche down and then get shared around from that group. Instagram is more of like a younger crowd that wants heavy learning, right? If your content's good, it has really good watch time, it will go successful, because Instagram's algorithm is the more watch time you have, the more engagement you have, the more we're going to share it with other people. And it's not their decision to get shared with. They're just going to scroll through their feed, right? And they're basing it off of that person's interest and your watch time. So it's kind of, it's kind of weird. Like I'll take one piece of content, and like in the past, I'll throw it up on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And that piece of content will go, 60,000 views on Facebook, 5,000 views on Instagram, 300 on YouTube, 1,200 on TikTok. And then the very next video I do, it would be completely opposite. Like TikTok will do 400,000, Facebook will do 300, so you never know. Like, and that's the value of posting on all these different platforms is you never know where it's going to blow up.
Gotcha.
And and one share like is massive. Once you get that one share out of the way, and people see it's been shared one time, they'll start sharing it like crazy. So like tell your friends to start sharing your content. Like, hey, please share. Like I just needed to say 8 shares and it'll blow up, because now people are like, well, somebody else liked it. I must have to like it too, right?
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Somebody
Makes
else already
sense.
shared this. I can share it too with my friend. Like it's like what is it? It's like oh shoot, I was trying to think of the analogy. It's like when like you ask, there's like a study where they asked a bunch of people, um I kind of brain fart there. So they asked a bunch of people, a question, do you like red or blue? And they put them in a room and it was about 50-50. Well, they put all these people together in a room and they asked them the same question, do you like green or orange? And the first guy said green, and the next guy's like, I like green too. And then after that it was green, 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 because
Right.
everybody else likes it. Now I kind of am compelled to like it. So the more engagement you get on your content, whether it's shares or likes or comments, it provides that, well, other people like it too, so I want to like it mindset. Right.
I like that.
So that's why I always say, like, tell 8 friends to always share your content, and you have a way higher chance of going viral, because now the random is like, well, 8 other people shared it with their friends, I can share with mine too.
There you go.
Right.
I like that. That's a good idea. I was taking this course from Nehemiah Davis. And he talks about Instagram, and he has courses that shows how to further your reach. And one of the tips that he had in his course was that, to where you would have, he says he doesn't do this anymore, but at the very beginning, he would have a group of friends and say, hey, let's go ahead, and whenever each one of us posts something, we all share to get that instant engagement, because of like what you're just saying. So I think that's very interesting. All right. And
and then also the more niche you can be, like if you can have 80 of your friends that are in real estate share it, and you also share all their content, it's getting shared with people that is your target niche and that are more likely to watch it longer, which helps your watch time. I mean, versus like sharing it with your friend that makes cookies. Like her followers don't care about your real estate content, and it might actually even hurt your watch time, which is going to hurt you. But if you can narrow in that niche, like those are powerful connections to make.
Gotcha. I love it. All right. And so now at this point in the podcast, we have our lightning round. So with these, they're going to be some of them are a little bit more serious. Some of them are a bit, goofier, but I like to ask these questions, and just the first thing that come to mind, just, share those, and you don't got to put a whole bunch of deep thought into it. Just let it rip on these. All right. So the first one is, if you had to eat one cut of beef for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ribeye.
Easy. Ribeye.
Easy. Yep.
Well, why ribeye?
It's the best cut.
Hey, I'll take it. All right, cool. So next question. In your backyard, would you rather have a giant trampoline or a giant slip and slide?
Giant slip and slide. Every time.
Gotcha. Every time. No question. Okay. All right. So next one. Would you rather have the ability to talk to every animal, or would you rather have the ability to speak to every plant?
Oof. I have to go with animal.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm an animal lover to the core.
Gotcha. Good deal. All right. And so I guess side note, I know I said lightning round, but I thought this question was interesting. I thought about, what would it be like to actually speak to a tree that's been around for thousands of years? And I'm like, like, I would love to just sit there, tell me, what was it like 1,000 years ago? Like, what changes have you seen? Is the pollution really that bad? Like, do you notice a difference? So
is global warming real?
Exactly. All right. And so
he's like, no, it's been hot as fuck.
Nice. All right. And then last question. All right. If you could send a video to your 18-year-old self and it's only 5 seconds long, you can't go above this, what would you say and why?
Oh man, this isn't gonna be lightning at all. 5 seconds, huh?
5 seconds.
Mm.
Anything over 5 seconds, it just gets cut off. So the message has to make sense.
Oh wow. Man. Save more money.
Gotcha. Hey, there you go.
You know,
No explanation. Just say more money.
Yes.
Time up.
Save that
Gotcha.
money.
Gotcha. All right. Awesome. But hey, thank you so much, Evan. You taught me a lot. You taught everyone else that's watching this. You taught them a ton of information. The folks that's watching the actual video, you guys are able to see his screen share and seeing different items that he's talking about. The markers for gas lines that's going through. Like he taught a lot of information. So Evan, if people want to follow you, where can they follow you on your social media platforms?
So Instagram, Evan Price, WFA, and WFA stands for Wealth for All. Facebook, I believe I'm at facebook.com/price.asset. Price Asset Group is a company, one of my companies. Most everything is Evan Price WFA. I'm trying to convert everything there. So if you just search that, you'll find me most places.
Evan Price, WFA, and it stands for Wealth for All.
Yep.
Gotcha. I love it, man. But hey, Evan, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. And we should be doing some business soon. We definitely got to do something, man. So thank you so much.
I got some lots over there in Houston. So we'll have to talk about
what part of Houston? What part of Houston?
Kind of northeast of downtown and the northwest of downtown. I actually have a house over. You do houses?
I do houses, yeah.
Okay, we got a house over there in Greater Houston Heights.
Gotcha. Well, we'll talk. Yep. We'll wrap this podcast up and then we'll start talking. But thank y'all so much for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Your First Steps podcast. Let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a review. And don't forget to subscribe.